Philip Seymour Hoffman gone in an instant. Heath Ledger found lifeless while the world was still applauding his brilliance. Two extraordinary talents, two sudden tragedies, and one unsettling question. Did fame elevate them or quietly destroy them? What if the same spotlight that makes Hollywood's brightest stars shine is the very light that burns them alive? Behind the red carpets and camera flashes lies a truth the industry never advertises. Fractured childhoods, hidden addictions, and glittering lives slowly collapsing in the shadows. These aren't movie scripts. They're real stories of icons crushed by the dream factory itself. And today we're pulling back the curtain to reveal the shocking price of fame and how the pursuit of stardom can twist into a nightmare no one sees coming. Before we begin, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. You won't want to miss the truths we're about to uncover. Heath Ledger, a rising star whose brilliance felt almost too intense for the world to hold. Neither Hollywood nor his fans, nor Heath himself could have predicted what his talent would demand of him. Young, magnetic, and astonishingly sensitive as an actor, Ledger didn't simply portray characters. He immersed himself in them, completely giving performances that felt raw, immediate, and deeply human. Everything changed in 2008 with The Dark Knight. As the Joker, he delivered a villain unlike anything audiences had seen, a figure of pure chaos, chilling and mesmerizing, stripped of cartoonish exaggeration and replaced with a disturbing realism. Critics quickly called it one of the finest performances in modern film history. But as the applause grew, Heath's private struggles deepened. Friends and colleagues noted that he was exhausted, battling long-standing insomnia, growing anxiety, and the physical toll of his intense working schedule. To manage it all, he leaned on an increasingly dangerous mix of prescription medications, sleeping aids, anti-anxiety pills, and painkillers. It quieted his mind for a moment, but each night became a risk he didn't fully grasp. On January 22, 2008, New Yorkers woke to heartbreaking news. Heath Ledger, only 28, had been found dead in his Soho apartment. The medical examiner later concluded it was an accidental overdose of multiple prescription drugs. And while the official record says accident, the deeper question remains. Did the pressure to maintain extraordinary brilliance push him beyond a human limit? Hollywood lost one of its most gifted young actors that day, a reminder that even the brightest stars can be undone not by failure, but by the unbearable weight of their own talent. Philip Seymour Hoffman was never the typical Hollywood leading man. He didn't possess matinee idol looks, nor did he seem interested in fame for fame's sake. Yet whenever he appeared on screen, something remarkable happened. The noise of the world seemed to fall away. Hoffman had a gift, a rare ability to make each character feel entirely lived in, honest, and painfully human. His Oscar-winning performance as Truman Capote revealed his extraordinary depth, and films like The Master Doubt and Magnolia confirmed what critics and colleagues already knew. Hoffman was one of the most transformative actors of his generation, a true chameleon. A craftsman devoted wholly to the work. But even the most brilliant lives often hold shadows no audience can see. Hoffman had battled addiction since his youth, achieving more than 2 decades of sobriety, a remarkable accomplishment. For years, he stood as proof that recovery could endure. But in 2012, after a brief prescription relapse, the stability he fought so hard to maintain began to slip. He returned to treatment multiple times, striving to regain control, yet the struggle continued behind closed doors. On February 2, 2014, the world awoke to devastating news. Philip Seymour Hoffman, only 46, had been found unresponsive in his New York apartment. The medical examiner later confirmed he died from acute intoxication involving a combination of drugs. What shocked so many was that Hoffman was no troubled newcomer overwhelmed by sudden fame. He was a respected veteran, a devoted father of 3, and a cherished collaborator whose discipline and humility set him apart. His passing delivered the painful reminder addiction spares no one. Not brilliance, not awards, not the admiration of millions. Hollywood mourned deeply, and audiences still feel the void left by an artist whose performances remain timeless. River Phoenix had the face of an angel and the turbulence of a soul far older than his years. To many, he wasn't simply Hollywood's next great talent. He represented the hope of a new generation, a rare blend of innocence, depth, and purpose. Often compared to James Dean River, earned praise for the quiet, emotional weight of Stand By Me and the haunting vulnerability he brought to my own private Idaho. He didn't rely on theatrics or volume to command attention. His gift was subtler, an authenticity that slipped under your skin and stayed there. But behind that luminous promise lived a storm few truly understood. Raised in a bohemian nomadic family, his childhood was shaped by music activism and an almost spiritual devotion to freedom. Yet that same unconventional life carried deep contradictions. The lack of stability, the extreme idealism, and the adults around him who blurred boundaries left River navigating emotional terrain far more dangerous than anyone realized. By the time he became a cultural icon, the world saw greatness, but River carried invisible wounds no spotlight could heal. On October 31, 1993, he arrived at the Viper Room, then partly owned by Johnny Depp, alongside his brother Joaquin and close friends. What should have been a simple night out spiraled into one of Hollywood's most heartbreaking tragedies. Outside on the sidewalk, River collapsed after ingesting a lethal mix of drugs. Joaquin, only 19, desperately called 911, but nothing could bring his brother back. At 23 years old, River Phoenix was gone. His death stunned the world not just as the loss of a brilliant young actor, but as a stark reminder of the unseen pressures placed on gifted souls. River remains a haunting presence in Hollywood, a symbol of beauty interrupted and a lingering question: who protects the dreamers who give us hope? Whitney Houston wasn't just a superstar, she was the voice of a generation. When she sang, the world stopped to listen. With I Will Always Love You, she didn't just set new records. She carved her name into music history with a sound so powerful, so pure, it felt almost heavenly. On stage, Whitney appeared larger than life, elegant, radiant, untouchable. But behind the spotlight, her struggles were already growing louder than her applause. Years of pressure, relentless expectations, and a complicated marriage to Bobby Brown created a storm she could not outrun. Their relationship, marked by deep passion and deep conflict, unfolded under the harsh glare of fame. And as tabloid culture exploded in the 90s, their private battles became entertainment for millions. Whitney, once celebrated for her flawless performances, began to show the weight of it all. Her voice, a national treasure, started to crack. Her concerts grew inconsistent. Mocked by the media and surrounded by destructive habits, she slipped further into addiction. Then came February 11th, 2012, the eve of the Grammy Awards. In a Beverly Hills hotel room, Whitney Houston was found unresponsive in her bathtub. She was only 48 years old. The coroner ruled it an accidental drowning with cocaine use and heart disease contributing to her death. The news rippled across the world. How could someone with a gift so extraordinary, with a light so bright, fall so hard and so quietly? Today, Whitney is remembered not only as one of the greatest voices ever recorded, but as a heartbreaking reminder that even unimaginable talent cannot shield a wounded soul. Her story still asks us, who listens when the music stops? For a while, Lindsay Lohan looked like she had the world at her feet. With that playful grin and a talent far beyond her years, she won over millions in The Parent Trap. Then came Mean Girls, where she didn't just act, she defined a generation. Lindsay seemed destined for lifelong stardom, the kind that grows brighter with time. But the glow hid shadows few understood. Her childhood was shaped by turmoil. Her parents' very public conflicts often made headlines, creating instability at the exact moment she needed protection. Instead of privacy, she was handed a spotlight, and fame didn't drift in gently, it struck with full force. Suddenly, she was everywhere. Blockbuster contracts, non-stop parties, photographers chasing her every move, and an entertainment industry that viewed her less as a person and more as a commodity. Slowly, the cracks began to show. Legal troubles followed: multiple DUIs, court appearances, probation violations, and every misstep was magnified for the world's amusement. Rehab became a revolving door, and the narrative shifted from rising star to public cautionary tale. Her unmistakable talent was buried under tabloid headlines. In rare moments of honesty, Lindsay admitted she turned to alcohol and drugs to escape a loneliness she didn't know how to name. She attempted several comebacks, determined to reclaim her footing. But Hollywood, merciless in its memory, often treated her as damaged goods. Today, Lindsay Lohan is quietly rebuilding. She is married, welcomed her first child in 2023, and has found peace living away from the frenzy, building her life steadily in Dubai. Her journey stands as a somber reminder of what happens when a child becomes a brand, and no one steps in to shield her from the relentless machinery of fame. Marilyn Monroe was not just a movie star, she was an icon, a cultural phenomenon whose image came to define American beauty for an entire era. With her platinum curls, bright red lips, and the kind of radiance that seemed almost unreal, she mesmerized audiences in a way few ever have. To millions, she was the embodiment of glamour. But behind Marilyn stood Norma Jean Mortensen, a woman forged by hardship long before the world knew her name. Her childhood was unstable and often heartbreaking. With her mother institutionalized due to severe mental illness, Norma Jean moved between foster homes, relatives, and even an orphanage. Safety, affection, and consistency were luxuries she rarely tasted. When Hollywood discovered her, it embraced the fantasy but ignored the woman. Studios crafted her into the perfect blonde and sold her as a seductive doll, never fully acknowledging her intelligence or her hunger to be taken seriously as an actress. Marilyn fought to break free of that mold. She studied acting, sought challenging roles, and demanded more respect. But the studio system pushed back, and producers offered pills instead of compassion barbiturates, to sleep sedatives to perform stimulants to keep her moving. Her private life unraveled as well. The breakdown of her marriages to Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller left deep emotional scars, amplifying her struggle with depression, anxiety, and chronic insomnia. On August 5, 1962, she was found dead in her Los Angeles home at only 36. The official ruling was acute barbiturate poisoning, but her death remains shrouded in speculation and sorrow. Today, Marilyn Monroe's image is immortal. Yet her real story is a somber reminder of how fame can consume a vulnerable soul, turning a brilliant, wounded woman into a myth while her true voice went unheard. Macaulay Culkin was once the most famous child actor in the world. After Home Alone turned him into a household name, he became Hollywood's youngest sensation, quick-witted, charming, and seemingly born for the spotlight. Every smirk, every wide-eyed reaction drew audiences in. But behind the success stood a troubled family dynamic. His father, Kit Culkin, serving as both parent and manager, treated his son less like a child and more like a lucrative enterprise. The pressure, the control, and the endless schedules slowly drained the joy from Macaulay's childhood. By his early teens, worn down by both fame and his parents' bitter custody battle, he stepped back from Hollywood. Without a normal childhood to fall into, he struggled. Photos of him looking thin and isolated fueled rumors of addiction. Though he denied the darkest claims, he did acknowledge experimenting with substances, an attempt to escape a life that had been mapped out for him before he could choose his own path. A 2004 drug possession arrest only deepened public concern. Unlike many former child stars, his decline wasn't explosive but quiet, a retreat from a world that had taken too much. Today, Macaulay Culkin has carved out a gentler existence. With Brenda Song, he welcomed a son in 2021, and the couple became engaged in 2023. He smiles again, living far from the pressures that once defined him. His story remains a soft but enduring warning about the unseen cost of early fame. Charlie Sheen. For years, Charlie Sheen was television's king. With 2.5 Men, he became the highest-paid actor in the world. His humor, charisma, and irreverence were ratings gold. But the sarcastic, wild character audiences loved on screen wasn't an invention. It was Charlie himself. From a young age, Sheen embraced a reckless lifestyle, heavy partying, alcohol, drugs, escorts, and endless nights of excess. He wore the bad boy label proudly, yet while cameras celebrated him, his personal life was crumbling. Legal troubles, allegations of violence, stints in rehab, everything spun out of control. By 2011, he hit bottom. Erratic interviews, bizarre catchphrases like tiger blood and winning and unpredictable behavior led to his firing from the very show that made him a millionaire. Overnight, he went from beloved star to viral punchline. The harshest revelation came in 2015 when Sheen publicly confirmed he was living with HIV. He admitted he had hidden the diagnosis for years, fearing stigma and exposure. Since then, Sheen has spoken openly about his struggles, sought treatment, and tried to rebuild his life. Today, he keeps a much lower profile, focusing on family health and sobriety. Charlie Sheen stands as a cautionary tale, an actor who wasn't destroyed by Hollywood but by the demons he carried within, paying the price of fame in full view of the world. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. See you in the next one.